NTD.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Nuclear weapons, a major crypto move, and a massive investment in shipping. We take a look at the latest moves under the Trump administration.
President Trump delaying many tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada for another month after talks with the Mexican president. But Trump says he still plans more tariffs next month.
The Chinese Communist Party is implicated in a scheme to steal American military secrets. 3 U.S. soldiers face charges.
U.S. and Ukrainian officials prepare for another meeting, this time in Saudi Arabia. It comes as Russia intensifies drone attacks on Ukraine's Odessa.
SpaceX's Starship spacecraft explodes after launch for the second time. Another setback in Elon Musk's plan to take humans to Mars.
An international cat show brings thousands of feline enthusiasts together in Toronto to see a variety of unique breeds, as well as to simply enjoy the company of these loving companions.
This is NTD Good Morning, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here are Stephanie Cox and Carrie Dunst.
Thank you for joining us this morning and welcome to NTD.
Yes, welcome. Good morning. Today's Friday, March 7th. In today's top news, a major new shipping investment, a Bitcoin reserve, and talks with the Hamas terror group. The Trump administration continuing its quick pace yesterday.
NTD's Daniel Monahan breaks it all down for us.
President Trump ordered the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve and U.S. digital asset stockpile the day before the White House Crypto Summit. Crypto czar David Sachs says it won't cost American taxpayers a dime. It will be funded with Bitcoin already owned by the federal government. Sachs says the reserve will serve as a digital Fort Knox.
President Trump announced Thursday that French shipping company CMA-CGM Group will invest $20 billion in the United States to help shore up the nation's shipbuilding infrastructure.
It's so important because it's about shipping. You know, we lost our way for many years. We haven't done anything. We used to build a ship a day, and now we essentially don't build ships.
The president says the big investment will go toward building out shipping, logistics infrastructure, and terminals, which will create an estimated 10,000 new jobs in America. Trump added that he will soon be announcing a massive new program
for building very large, the largest ships in the world.
The plan, he said, will involve tax incentives similar to his tariff policies. Funds from the investment will go toward developing ports in New York, Los Angeles, Houston, Miami, and Dutch Harbor, Alaska. The company will also open a new logistics research and development center in Boston, focused on advanced robotics and automation. President Trump signed an executive order revoking security clearances for employees of Perkins Coie, the law firm tied to the discredited Steele dossier. The White House accused Perkins Coie of weaponizing government and engaging in discriminatory hiring.
You could say weaponization against a political opponent, and it should never be allowed to happen again.
A spokesperson for the law firm said they intended to challenge the executive order and called it unlawful. And Trump announced he is expecting a report from the Secret Service next week regarding attempts on his life last year, and plans to release it if it doesn't jeopardize safety.
When you have 3 apps and 2 of them are foreign, and you had an FBI that wouldn't report on it, they didn't want to say why, I would say that could be suspicious. Take a look what happened.
The president faced unprecedented violence on the campaign trail, being the target of 2 assassination attempts in the span of about 2 months. Trump confirmed on Thursday that the U.S. is having discussions with the Hamas terror group regarding Israeli and American hostages still being held.
We're not giving cash. We're not giving $6 billion like you hear other administrations give. And in fact, I got 59 hostages out, and we gave nothing.
The president also discussed weapons of mass destruction with reporters Thursday.
I was very close to having a program with Russia, denuclearization, and we're going to get China.
With major policy changes at home and tough talks abroad, President Trump's agenda continues to move forward. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Thank you, Daniel. And we turn now to the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yes, the U.S. and Ukraine say they're ready to try and hash out terms for a ceasefire. Here's the latest.
What
After a tense meeting at the White House between President Trump and President Zelensky, U.S. and Ukrainian officials are eyeing a high-stakes follow-up meeting in Saudi Arabia. Steve Witkoff, special envoy to the Middle East, told reporters Thursday Trump had received a letter from the Ukrainian president offering to discuss terms for a ceasefire. Witkoff said the letter included an apology and thanked the U.S. for its support of Ukraine. Witkoff said the Trump administration is now in talks to coordinate a meeting with Ukraine. This meeting could come as soon as next week. Trump said Thursday he would likely be in Saudi Arabia himself in the next month and a half. He told reporters his first trip abroad would be to secure a major investment from the Saudis.
So I'm going to be going there, and I have a great relationship with them, and they've been very nice, but they're going to be spending a lot of money to American companies for buying military equipment and a lot of other things.
Trump said the last time he visited Saudi Arabia during his first term, they put up $450 billion. This time, he's asking for a lot more.
They've gotten richer. We've all gotten older. So I said, I'll go if you pay $1 trillion, $1 trillion to American companies, meaning the purchase over a 4-year period of $1 trillion. And they've agreed to do that.
Trump didn't say whether this trip would also involve a meeting with Vladimir Putin. He said earlier he would meet the Russian president in Saudi Arabia over the next month and a half. Meanwhile, Zelensky is also heading to Saudi Arabia to meet Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Monday, ahead of talks with the U.S. In a post on Telegram, Zelensky wrote, "Ukraine is most interested in peace." On Thursday night, Ukraine said Russian forces launched a new wave of mass drone attacks on the port city of Odessa. Officials said the attacks damaged energy facilities and triggered fires. The attack comes one day after Russian strikes on Odessa killed 2 people. Waves of drones have swarmed on the city every night this week. Odessa has been a frequent target of Russian attacks, particularly energy infrastructure and port facilities. Earlier on Thursday, European leaders agreed to significantly boost defense spending to ensure Europe's security.
Given the threat and whatever happens in Ukraine, we need to increase our defense capabilities, and we need to build, in the next few years, autonomous defense capabilities for Europeans.
The emergency meeting came after the U.S. pulled back its assistance to Ukraine and the continent. The EU leaders also expressed near-unanimous support for Ukraine, with only Hungary abstaining.
President Trump said yesterday he's considering revoking protected status for Ukrainians in the U.S. This would affect roughly 240,000 Ukrainians who came to the country after fleeing the war.
The announcement is leading to fears of deportation among some. Trump insisted the final decision is yet to be made, saying Ukrainians have gone through a lot in the last 3 years.
Next, FBI Director Patel says the Bureau is committed to bringing all American hostages held abroad back home.
Patel said yesterday the FBI will work to zero out the number of Americans detained or held in hostage in foreign countries.
Just imagine if one of yours was taken. What would you do, and what would you expect of the United States government to do to return them to you? And the simple answer from this administration, from President Trump, from Secretary Rubio, from Adam and Dustin, and so many others in the intelligence community is we will do everything. This is a top priority. And so my singular promise to you in this community is that I will do everything as your director of the FBI to marshal the resources necessary to make sure that no other American family feels that pain.
Patel made the remarks during a State Department ceremony honoring the hostage community and their families. The Trump administration is trying to secure the release of the remaining American hostages held by Hamas terrorists.
Government is also working to bring home Americans from other countries, including Russia and Venezuela. Last month, an American schoolteacher jailed in Russia on drug charges, Mark Vogel, returned home as part of a prisoner swap with Moscow. President Trump pausing many tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada for a month, but bigger tariffs are still set to hit in a few weeks. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao brings us the latest.
And President Trump on Thursday paused his 25% new tariffs on goods coming in from Mexico and Canada that are covered by USMCA, a free trade agreement that he negotiated during his first term among the 3 North American nations. And Trump signing the new executive action says the 1-month delay is to protect American car makers, but he also warns that across the board reciprocal tariffs will still kick in on April 2nd.
April 2nd is a little bit different. That will be much more significant. But during this interim period between now and April 2nd, this makes it much more favorable for our American car manufacturers.
Trump on Wednesday just paused auto tariffs on Mexico and Canada at the request of the big three automakers. The White House says the delay is to encourage the companies to move their supply chains to the U.S.,
where they will pay no tariff. That's the ultimate goal.
The now expanded pause comes as Trump talked to the Mexican leader.
And they've been working much harder lately. Do you notice that? On people coming in and drugs.
But Trump, after talking to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, says he's still not happy with Canada's work on fighting fentanyl. Meanwhile, as stocks slide amid the new tariffs this week, Trump says he's not looking at the markets at all when making changes.
Countries and companies that have been ripping us aren't particularly happy with what I'm doing. But the United States will be very happy.
While more goods are now exempt at least for a month, some goods are not covered by USMCA. More than 60% of goods coming in from Canada and more than 50% of goods coming in from Mexico are still facing Trump's new tariffs. Reporting by Iris Tao, NTD News.
Now the latest from Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency.
DOGE says it terminated the leases of 30 Food and Drug Administration sites across the country.
In this week's announcement, DOGE said the properties totaled nearly 250,000 square feet. It said terminating these leases would lead to nearly $30 million in savings.
DOGE also canceled property leases at a number of other government departments, including the State Department and the Social Security Administration.
Meanwhile, the CIA will lay off an unreleased number of junior officers as part of DOGE's cost-cutting sweep. A spokesperson said yesterday new hires with behavioral issues or who have been deemed a poor fit will be fired.
And DOGE said yesterday on X it had canceled a $56,000 contract to water around 8 plants at the Veteran Affairs Department. DOGE said it would water the plants for free instead.
And Attorney General Pam Bondi calls for swift justice after American soldiers are charged with betraying their country.
3 Army soldiers, 2 active duty and 1 former, have been arrested for their roles in a bribery and theft scheme involving sensitive military information.
An Army supply sergeant is accused of attempting to transmit classified national defense information to individuals in China. Officials say the soldier conspired to sell classified hard drives marked secret and top secret to China, receiving at least $10,000. He also allegedly attempted to sell a stolen encryption cable computer and sensitive military documents.
Some materials included information on military readiness for a potential conflict with China. Meanwhile, 2 other soldiers face charges for conspiring to steal government property and accepting bribes. FBI Director Kash Patel used the case to warn of China's ongoing efforts to steal U.S. military secrets.
Coming up, the FBI has added a new suspect to its 10 most wanted list, along with a $10 million reward for information leading to his arrest.
And another SpaceX Starship spacecraft explodes after launch. Elon Musk's plan to take humans to Mars suffers another hitch. We'll have that story after the break.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents. You think you created family out of characters? Yeah, of course. I'm gonna take that, make it into a song.
Jason,
Hey, Pop.
you can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
Welcome back. A SpaceX Starship spacecraft exploded in space yesterday, minutes after lifting off from Texas.
The FAA temporarily halted traffic in parts of Florida because of falling space debris. A key objective of the flight was to capture the Super Heavy booster with the chopsticks on the launch tower, which was successfully achieved.
And this is the second failure for Elon Musk's Mars rocket program in just over a month.
400-foot rocket system is central to Musk's plan to send humans to Mars.
Starship was aiming to make nearly a full orbit around Earth and re-enter over the Indian Ocean for a splashdown. The FBI has added former Canadian Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding to its 10 most wanted list, offering a $10 million reward for information leading to his arrest. Wedding is accused of running a massive international drug trafficking network and orchestrating multiple murders linked to the ring. Authorities say he distributed cocaine across U.S. cities and Canada. They say he used long-haul semi-trucks to move an estimated 60 tons of cocaine annually between Colombia, Mexico, Southern California, and Canada.
The FBI calls Wedding a very dangerous man, citing the alleged murders of his competitors. Prosecutors say his group also killed 2 people in Canada in a mistaken identity case. Wedding, also known by aliases Public Enemy and James Conrad King, was charged with murder and drug crimes last June.
A win in court for the Trump administration.
Federal judge yesterday gave the go-ahead to fire USAID contractors.
The judge said the contractors had not proved the firings would lead to irreparable harm.
Characterizing the issue as a contract dispute, the judge said the court lacked jurisdiction on the matter.
Meanwhile, California is leading several states in suing the Trump administration over cuts in around $600 million worth of teacher grants. They allege the Department of Education violated the Administrative Procedure Act.
And the former head of the Office of Special Counsel ended his legal battle against the Trump administration. Hampton Dillinger earlier argued his firing was unlawful, but after a federal appeals court ruled his termination was legal, Dillinger said he would abide by the decision. In his words, that's what Americans do.
Next, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats will not support a short-term government funding bill, putting pressure on House Republicans to pass it alone. Lawmakers face a March 14th deadline to avoid a government shutdown. Speaker Mike Johnson has called for a continuing resolution to fund the government through September. But with Democrats opposed, he'll need full Republican support. Senator John Hoeven says a shutdown remains uncertain, with the first test being whether House Republicans can pass the funding bill alone. President Trump has also backed a temporary funding bill, urging lawmakers to get it done. Democratic lawmakers are divided over how to respond to the Republican trifecta in Washington. Some joined Republicans yesterday to censure a fellow Democrat. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has more on this story.
That Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker.
A group of Democratic lawmakers started singing "We Shall Overcome" on the House floor in an attempt to disrupt the proceedings to censure Congressman Al Green.
The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. Shh.
After order was restored, voting resumed, and 10 Democrats joined Republicans in censuring Congressman Al Green for his actions during the president's speech to Congress on Tuesday night.
You know what? I don't mind being one of 10 Democrats who said, no, there's a deeper principle at stake here, which is reverence for this institution. You know, I have no love for Donald Trump, but I do have reverence for the office of the president. In the military, they salute the uniform. They don't salute the man or the woman in the uniform.
House Democrats are divided over how to oppose President Trump's legislative agenda, some even defying their leadership.
I do think that leadership tried to tell people that there should not be props. I think we all have to, again, take a look and talk to each other about what is the most effective way to be fighting back. There are people throughout this country. I have people of all kinds in my district who are very angry, want to see Democrats fighting back.
Government funding expires on March 14th, and House Democrats are threatening with a government shutdown, while House Republicans are unsure they can pass a continuing resolution without the support of Democrats.
We will at all times defend Medicaid, defend Medicare, defend Social Security, defend nutritional assistance to our children and families, and defend veterans' benefits, while Republicans stand on the side of their billionaire donors.
A group of conservatives in the office with him all want to support the president's agenda. And we're going to work toward getting that continuing resolution in a form where we can pass it just like we did last week. To all the people who said you could never pass that reconciliation bill with only Republican votes, wait until next week.
On the Senate side, lawmakers invoked cloture on the nomination of Lori Chavez de Reamer to be the next Secretary of Labor. She's expected to be confirmed on a party line vote. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
And the Justice Department has indicted a dozen Chinese contract hackers and law enforcement officials. They're accused of involvement in a years-long hacking campaign to steal data from the U.S. government and undermine dissident groups.
NTD's sister media, the Epoch Times, was one of the victims of that hacking campaign. Why? Our data reporter, Kevin Hogan, breaks it down and follows the money.
What we're about to reveal to you is a hacker for hire system that's been going on from 2016 until at least 2023. That's according to the Justice Department. They have charged 12 CCP-linked nationals over a years-long hacking campaign. 2 of them are actually members of the CCP, part of their intelligence and police service, and another 2 are cyber actors. Some of them have their own companies that they employ Chinese hackers in, and then 8 of them are part of this company called iSoon. That's a Chinese hacking firm, right? So this is an attack on the Epoch Times. So how does it work? I mean, the CCP, they definitely did not want the Epoch Times reporting to get out, and we'll get into that why in just a moment. But so what the Ministry of Public Security does is they hire that iSoon company to go in and try to break into the email servers of newspapers like the Epoch Times. So they use everything they can to break into cell phones, emails, all these websites and everything. They use these phishing emails that have this malware that as soon as you open it up, they can gain access to their computer. But you ask, well, why would the Epoch Times be targeted? I mean, of all the things that a bad actor could go after for hacking, critical infrastructure, bank accounts, why would you go after a newspaper's email server? Well, we have a statement from the Epoch Times CEO, which I'll show you here, and that's Janice Trey right there. She says that the Epoch Times is the media company that is most feared by the Chinese Communist Party, and the reason for that is because the truthful reporting on the human rights abuses that the CCP is committing in China. For example, the Falun Gong, a peaceful spiritual meditation group, they've been persecuted for a quarter century by the CCP, and That includes killing them for their organs for a profit. And the Epoch Times has been reporting on that critically ever since. So certainly the CCP is doing everything it can to squash that information from getting out. So how does this iSoon company actually do it? Well, this is their portal for their penetration platform. Again, they use phishing, malware. They even clone websites to try to do everything they can to coax information out of people. So that's just the DOJ's actual image that they've published here, so we could take a look at. And now, when you talk about the actual scope of this is John Molinar. He's the chairman of the Select Committee on the CCP. He says that the Chinese Communist Party is waging a full-scale cyber war against the United States and American people. And he says it's an attack on our security infrastructure and our way of life as a whole. So very, very serious. Let's follow the money here. What does iSoon charge to break into one single email server? Well, on the low end, that's $10,000. So again, very profitable, very lucrative industry. But on the high end, that jumps up to $75,000 for just one. The CCP will pay a lot of money to get access to this information. That's all in the DOJ's charging document. So this company, iSoon, it's known by the DOJ to have made over $20 million, or at least $20 million in 2021. But the company's own executives estimate that by this year, that'll jump up to $75 million. So again, very lucrative. They're doing everything they can to break into email servers to get access to compromise them as a whole. And furthermore, the State Department has put out a reward for any information leading to, one, the arrest of those 2 cyber actors. That's right at $2 million. That's a lot of money. And then for any of those 8 iSoon employees and anything that's related to that company at all, a total of $10 million reward for this. And if you may remember, well, actually, we'll get to that in a sec. But now this iSoon is so widespread. I mean, it's everywhere in China. There are 43 bureaus that actually contract with them. And this is Ministry of Public Security, this is the Intelligence Service and Police Service that contract with them, and that's in 31 provinces, extremely widespread. Now, those 2 cyber actors, you remember back in 2021, there were 30,000 U.S. organizations that were compromised by that Silk Typhoon attack, and that was part of those. That's the same 2 individuals that are all involved in this indictment right now. So we're going to have to see how this plays out, and we'll be tracking this for you. Back to you.
And how are everyday Americans reacting to Chinese Communist Party infiltration in the U.S.? NTD's Sam Wang was out on the National Mall in D.C. to hear from them.
Kind of scary, kind of alarming. It's something that needs to be looked into.
The number one thing is just national security, whatever that means to the nation and to individuals. But I think you have to be on top of those things and take them seriously when they happen.
I'm alarmed anytime something is potentially affecting our security. I trust our security and cyber people to be able to combat that.
I have confidence in the one who can keep us, and I believe that America is kept because of our leadership through Jesus Christ.
The more we depend on AI and the more we depend on computers, and that's where we are right now, especially because of technology, we always have to make sure we have some type of defense system work, for us.
I'm going to read you a recent statement put out by the Chinese embassy, and it says, quote, "If war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end." So do you think we should take the CCP's threat seriously?
I think we should take every threat seriously. The idea of full-out war between those 2 countries is something I hope we never see in our lifetimes or any other lifetime.
I think anytime you have world powers in disagreement, you have to take those things seriously, but hopefully common heads prevail.
Be on alert just to make sure that in the event something does happen, we are ready. America needs to get back to where we depend on America. We depend on a lot of countries for different things, and that makes us vulnerable, I believe.
I think that the worst thing any country could do is stand up against the United States of America, because we're ready. That's just what I believe. I believe that the United States of America has the backing that it needs, and we're strong enough to defeat any army.
Coming up, President Trump holds off from enforcing 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico for 30 days. We'll speak to a public policy advocate for analysis.
And European leaders say they will significantly increase military spending. They're also considering deploying soldiers on the ground in Ukraine. Stay with us for that story.
Kids love it. Parents trust it.
Obviously.
Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators.
This is spectacular.
Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more.
Wow.
All while having fun.
Perfect.
Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Funny expression. There's a little scar right below his neck. The artist, on a trip to somewhere in South America, he met this kid who told him a story about himself. The technique is really good. As you'll see, like in the foreground, there's water on his face. The texture is so realistic, but then sort of in the back, you have these washed out colors, almost a sort of fantasy feel. The whole of the picture is very balanced, and you still get that sense of harmony and warm light from it. The artist, he was really moved by the child's spirit. The child's from the slums, and so he looks around and he sees people who either get into drugs or they get into gangs, and he doesn't want that for himself. So he was telling this artist about how he's going to make a better life for himself. The immense spirit and determination that the kid had really stuck with the guy, so that's why he painted such a large portrait of the child.
Many of us have been child fighters, but this little kid learned to defend himself in his own way. It's a great sacrifice that way. And so this is another form of strength, another form of endurance. We are capable of much more than we think. These children amaze us.
At Mathis Home, we understand that your home is a reflection of you. And during our spring style event, we have fresh new looks that are waiting to make your home look and feel great at the lowest prices. And with all the latest styles in bloom, you'll find savings in every department. Whether it's a clean and modern sectional or a rustic and traditional dining table, we have it in stock with fast and free delivery. Come find the look that's right for you at our spring style event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Welcome back.
And if you're just joining us now, here are some of today's top headlines. President Trump yesterday announced $20 billion in investment from a French shipping giant to rebuild U.S. shipbuilding and infrastructure. He also signed an order creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Meanwhile, Trump confirmed talks with Hamas terrorists on hostages and addressed possible future denuclearization talks with Russia and China.
U.S. and Ukrainian officials could meet again soon, this time in Saudi Arabia, as both sides push for peace talks. Meanwhile, Trump plans a high-stakes visit to secure a $1 trillion investment deal with the Saudis, while Zelensky meets with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. This comes as Russia intensifies drone attacks on Ukraine's Odessa.
President Trump paused the 25% tariffs on goods covered by the USMCA coming in from Mexico and Canada. Yesterday, he said the delay is to protect American car makers and encourage companies to move their supply chain to the U.S. Trump also spoke with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau yesterday, saying he's still not happy with Canada's fight against fentanyl. More than 60% of goods coming in from Canada and 50% from Mexico, not covered by the USMCA, are still facing Trump's new tariffs.
And the Supreme Court ruled on Wednesday that the Trump administration must immediately release nearly $2 billion in foreign aid payments owed under existing contracts from the Biden administration. Joining us for analysis is Mark Miller. He's a senior attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mark. The lawsuit was brought by USAID contractors. Their legal basis was that they held contracts signed by the U.S. government, and those contracts had to be honored. Can you explain for us the Supreme Court's ruling here?
Well, that's a great introduction. It was 5-4, so it means the justices were split. And on the one hand, you could say, as you did in the lead-in, that these are contractors, mostly nonprofits, that Congress and the previous administration had decided to enter into contracts to pay them for services. On the other hand, on the Trump perspective, you could say that now that he's taking over those contracts, that the administration is taking over them, they get to review them and make sure before they're paid out that they actually receive the services that these contractors said they would deliver. And you could say on the one hand that Trump has a point. You could say on the other hand that those who are recipients of the money have a point. They want to be paid. Trump was just saying at the Supreme Court level, at least, and in the trial court, we just want to review them. We're not saying we don't owe the money, but we'd like to take some time to review. The trial judge said, no, pay them now, and you can fight about it later and get the money back if you're right, Mr. Trump, President Trump. And the court said no, and the Supreme Court agreed that, no, you need to pay the money now. You can worry about it later, whether you actually should have had to pay it.
So to make a parallel analogy, if the CEO of a corporation should change, would that somehow exempt that corporation from their legal contracts and obligations?
That is really almost a perfect analogy, because at Pacific Legal Foundation, where I work, we don't want the government to get special treatment and treated better than Americans. But at the same time, the government probably shouldn't be treated any worse either. And here, if that new CEO came in, he could probably say, and the courts wouldn't interfere, they would let it be fought about. If he said, or she, that, look, I want to review these contracts before I pay you, that recipient who's owed the money might sue. It would be unusual for the courts to say, okay, I'll let you fight it out, but CEO, you need to pay the money now. And if you're right that you shouldn't have had to pay it, you could try and get it back. The problem is for President Trump and the administration is they probably will never see the money again. It would be hard to get the money back. The courts normally wouldn't step in there. And that's what Trump's lawyers were saying. They're saying, yeah, we might owe the money. We shouldn't have to pay it immediately. We should get to fight about it first. Courts said no, 5-4, and Justice Alito was unimpressed in his dissent.
And going into the dissenting justices, Alito wrote the opinion, and he felt that too much power was in the hands of a district judge who lacked jurisdiction. What was the logic of the 4 dissenting judges?
So the logic of the 4 justices, and it was Kavanaugh, Alito, Thomas, and Justice Gorsuch, is effectively, and we don't know what the other 3 thought, but they signed on to Justice Alito's opinion. And Alito was saying, effectively, 1, this case wasn't even filed in the right court. It should have been in a different court. It should have been in front of a different judge. And so there's a bit of judge shopping going on here. That's an ongoing problem, both on the left and the right, where they look for judges who will favor their position and then, then get to deal with the appeal from the winning position. And then number 2, 1 trial judge ruling for the entire country. This wasn't actually called a nationwide injunction. It was called a temporary restraining order. But there's an ongoing dispute about whether a single trial judge can enter an order that affects the entire country, that affects the entire federal government, or just the federal government as it stands in front of him in his or her jurisdiction, his sort of regional piece of the country. And here, the Supreme Court said, we're going to allow it. The dissenters said, effectively, we don't think so. We think this should be litigated implicitly in the right court, or at a minimum, let's see if it's the right court below before any money gets transferred. And the key word that Justice Alito used is he said he was stunned by this. And for all 4 justices to sign on to it, it doesn't mean they don't think these contractors shouldn't have been paid at the end of the day. Many of these contractors are doing good things that Congress thought were valid reasons for them to be paid. The real issue they're saying is we don't think this was happened and was handled correctly. And, process is key to our country. And that's effectively what they're complaining about.
Yes, it seems like Alito concerned about jurisdiction. I want to pivot back to contract negotiation terms. It would seem if I'm in power, I could just create all these contracts that have no rights for cancellation for decades, and future administrations could do nothing about it. Is there any legislation from Congress that prevents administrations from doing that? What is the precedent as we switch from administration to administration with pre-existing contracts?
Well, on the one hand, we often think, we have recency bias. We think, oh my gosh, what's happening now has never happened before. But in fact, in the history of the country, we have seen these, battles when power is handed off from the Republican to the Democrat, or in this case, the Democrat to the Republican, that by changing tactics, changing perspective, changing direction, somehow the government's doing something wrong, and we ask for the courts to get involved. So I don't think you will see Congress do much in response to this. I'd be surprised if they do. The bottom line is there's a lot of fights going on in our courts that will make their way to the Supreme Court. The Democrat side of the aisle, if you will, the contractors in this case, they will win some fights. The administration will win others, and the country will proceed. I do think Congress may make certain laws in response to what's going on in these fights that President Trump is having in the courts, but I'd be surprised if this situation leads to anything more than a bit of tut-tutting from both sides.
And just briefly, as we finish up, does this present DOGE future challenges, or it's sort of not too big of a hurdle?
Well, that's a great question, because as we saw, President Trump is kind of reeling Mr. Musk in a little bit. We saw that yesterday after this ruling. Whether it was because of this ruling, we all could just speculate. But the bottom line is President Trump appears to have realized that perhaps Mr. Musk got over his skis a little bit. At least that seems to be the implication of his social media post. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this USAID ruling is seen as a bit of a rebuke to Musk, and that President Trump continues to reel him in and at least make it clear that his cabinet secretaries, not Mr. Musk, have the final say as to how money gets spent or not spent, and who gets fired and who gets to stay in his administration.
Well, I appreciate your analysis this morning. Mark Miller, senior attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation.
Always a pleasure to join you.
EU leaders discussing plans to boost defense spending. This would align with President Trump's agenda to have the EU take a bigger stake in its own defense. NTD's international correspondent David Vives reports from Paris.
In a joint statement on Thursday, 26 of 27 EU member states pledged to increase defense spending and maintain strong support for Ukraine. EU leaders backed a European Commission proposal allowing more fiscal flexibility for defense. They also discussed a plan to jointly borrow up to about $162 billion to strengthen their militaries. The new defense spending aligns with Trump's request for Europe. Some EU member states also said that they hope this spending can be carried out within a framework of cooperation with Trump's new peace plan for Ukraine. However, EU leaders have recently intensified their stance against Russia, accusing the country of being a direct threat to European nations and engaging in election interference. Meanwhile, a former official with the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Benoît Paré, says Macron's speech on Wednesday marks a turning point in French diplomacy.
He somehow raised the bar higher in terms of the perception of the threat from Russia. So this is some kind of an unprecedented step. I don't think he had ever been so clear about the idea of a direct threat coming from Russia.
EU leaders this week have discussed the possibility of deploying peacekeeping troops to Ukraine. Some countries, including France, Italy, and UK, are willing to do it. However, Russia didn't agree to such a proposal, saying this would lead to an extremely dangerous escalation.
President Trump right now is on a course not to put boots on the ground, but to have a ceasefire and to have peace agreement in Ukraine. This is what President Trump stands for as of now. Clearly, he said so repeatedly. But the European Union leaders, they are on an opposite path. They do not want peace at any cost. They want peace at Ukraine's conditions and not at Russia's conditions.
Zelensky said on Thursday that US and Ukrainian officials will meet next week to discuss a peace plan. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Staying over in Paris this morning, an unusual discovery at a train station there. An unexpected bomb dating back to World War II has disrupted the morning traffic to and from Paris's bustling Gare du Nord train station. The disruption is affecting local metro lines, commuter rails, and national and even international trains, including the Eurostar. Departure boards at London's St. Pancras International train station showed multiple trains heading to Paris canceled, leaving dozens of passengers stranded.
How do you discover suddenly, after all these years, on the tracks even, with all the trains I went through? So it seems strange to me, the whole thing, but hey, until we know further, it's nothing you can do but wait.
Guess you might refer to that as an Easter egg, finding your commute disrupted from something that happened almost 100 years ago.
Oh, yes. What a shock that must have been. Well, next up, a South Korean court has canceled impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol's arrest warrant.
Yes, it could have the way for his release from jail. He was arrested in mid-January on insurrection charges over a brief imposition of martial law.
Now, in a statement, the Seoul Central District Court said its ruling to cancel his arrest warrant was based on the timing of the indictment, and that came after the initial detention period had expired.
And they also noted questions about the legality of the investigation process that involved two separate agencies.
The ruling did not dismiss the criminal charges that led to Yoon's arrest on January 15th, and the case is separate from his impeachment, which is still pending before the Constitutional Court.
Currently, South Korea's finance minister is the acting head of state and has been seeking to calm economic markets and international partners.
The State Department said the U.S. and other countries made repeated offers to Thailand to resettle more than 3 dozen Uyghurs before they were deported back to China. It comes after Thailand's Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs said earlier in the week there had been no serious offers to take the men. He told reporters that a third country should also have negotiated with China to allow Thailand to send them to that country. The State Department condemned Thailand's decision as a violation of the country's commitment to United Nations Convention Against Torture, and said the U.S. and other countries did not need Beijing's permission to offer the asylum seekers, who were Uyghurs, asylum. The 40 Uyghurs had been in Thai custody since 2014. They fled repression of their minority group in China, where more than 1 million Uyghurs and people from other Muslim ethnic groups are imprisoned.
And coming up, cat fans take notice. An international cat show brings thousands of feline enthusiasts together in Toronto to see a variety of unique breeds, as well as to simply enjoy the company of these loving companions. You want to stay with us for that.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste, and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth, without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
the difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
Utah has become the first state to pass legislation requiring app stores to verify users' ages.
If the bill becomes law, parental consent will also be needed for minors to download apps onto their devices. NTD's Sean Marshall has more on this.
On Wednesday, Utah became the first state to pass legislation requiring app stores to verify users' ages and get parental consent for minors to download apps onto their devices. The bill is headed to the desk of Governor Spencer Cox. App-centric companies like Meta, which operates Facebook and Instagram, is in contention with App Store giants Apple and Google over who should be responsible for verifying ages. Meta and other social media companies want app stores to carry that responsibility. That's amid criticism that social media companies don't do enough to make their products safe for children or verify that no kids under 13 use them. Governor Cox has until April 1st to either sign or veto the legislation. Apple and Google are among a number of tech companies that help support the Chamber of Progress, a tech policy group that lobbied Utah lawmakers to reject the bill. Last year, Apple helped kill a similar bill in Louisiana that would have required app stores to help enforce age restrictions. A spokesperson for the Chamber of Progress called the measure a tremendous encroachment of individual privacy that he said places a heavy burden on app stores to ensure online safety. Republican Senator Todd Weiler, the bill's sponsor, argued it's a lot easier to target 2 app stores than it is to target 10,000 app developers. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
And Loving Cats Worldwide is an international cat show that brings feline enthusiasts together to witness competitions, learn cat care tips, and simply enjoy the companionship of these amazing creatures. Last weekend, the event made its way to Toronto.
And a fair warning, this video contains a high dosage of cuteness, especially for cat lovers. Shane Rankin has the details.
That one that changes your world, that one that looks at you so intensely that they have such a strong connection. I was never a cat person, believe it or not, until I met that one cat.
With nearly 100 cats participating, around 6,000 visitors attended the show to spend time with our feline friends.
We started Loving Cats Worldwide to raise the visibility of all cats globally and, educate on proper cat ownership and educate on the overwhelming rescue situation where everyone can do their part.
During the event, the cats were evaluated in 6 rings by Stephen and 5 international judges. Assessments are based on how closely each cat meets the ideal characteristics outlined in its breed standard, which includes factors such as physical attributes, coat quality, and personality.
Look at the eye color, the big wide open nostrils, beautiful coat color, condition.
In Stephen's ring, household cats compete on the same stage as the pedigree cats, where personality is the key factor. A major highlight of the show was the catwalk, where participants got the chance to showcase their cats.
The cats will not walk down the catwalk because cats do not do anything we tell them to do.
Loving Cats Catwalk, which is a kind of an up-close and personal view of the breeds that are here and the household pets and the rescues that are here. And we talk about the health, we talk about the grooming, the presentation, and just general overview of those specific cats. I learned a lot today, so that was a really big takeaway.
One of the participants was the 4-year-old Princess Peach. She's a Persian Himalayan flame point.
This is Princess Peach, so we're here again for the 2nd year.
In one of the rings, she was awarded as Best in the Long Hair category. Before she was charming the judges in the ring, Princess Peach's journey started with a surprise, a hat box, and a moment that brought tears of joy.
I bought Princess Peach for my girlfriend at the time as an engagement gift to propose to her. Bought her as a 6-week-old kitten. I put her in a hat box, and I gave her the gift of a hat when she came home, and when she opened the box, she just started crying and so happy that it was a cat. And I actually had a ring around her neck to propose to her, and After 5 minutes, I told her, maybe you want to look at the cat a little closer. And then she looked and saw the ring, and then she started crying again.
Princess Peach wasn't just a special part of John's love story. She also took the spotlight on the catwalk.
She's in super condition. She got really nice grooming. She likes to be here-ish, you know? She doesn't like sharing her affection, apparently. Big round of applause for Princess Peach.
Shane Rankin, NTD News, Toronto.
So if that warmed your heart, you can go see this show in Sacramento on March 15th and 16th, and then in Sarasota at the Florida in Florida on April 19th and 20th.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know. A lot of those pets are strays, right? So it's interesting that they're still pretty cuddly.
I know. Yeah, what was that? Princess Peach was the name of that
right?
one cat?
Did not mind being held.
Yeah.
I gotta say, a lot of people these days do take the first step of owning a pet together before getting married.
That's true. That's true. I think my wife and I did that. You know, I think cats and dogs are kind of like the Yankees and Mets. Most people say you got to pick one or the other. I like both Yankees and Mets. You know, I root for both. I'm happy for both. Yeah. But I'm a dog guy. Never had cats. But here's something that might encourage you to get a cat. You're 30% less likely to experience heart disease if you have a cat.
Fascinating. You know, that does make sense to me, especially since they are usually so cuddly. But another fun fact is that purring sound that cats make when they are cuddling you actually is very relaxing for the person who's hearing it.
Oh, definitely.
Not even the cat itself, but so it's fun all around.
Yeah, so if you're suffering from anxiety, depression, PTSD, maybe try a cat.
I mean, yesterday we saw the llama. There's all kinds of ways to relax.
Tell you, getting a cat seems a little easier than getting a llama. So.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we're going to have to go to break now, but stay with us here at NTD. We have a lot more coming up.
Funny expression. There's a little scar right below his neck. The artist, on a trip to somewhere in South America, he met this kid who told him a story about himself. The technique is really good. As you'll see, like in the foreground, there's water on his face. The texture is so realistic, but then sort of in the back, you have these washed out colors, almost a sort of fantasy feel. The whole of the picture is very balanced, and you still get that sense of harmony and warm light from it. The artist, he was really moved by the child's spirit. The child's from the slums, and so he looks around and he sees people who either get into drugs or they get into gangs, and he doesn't want that for himself. So he was telling this artist about how he's going to make a better life for himself. The immense spirit and determination that the kid had really stuck with the guy, so that's why he painted such a large portrait of the child.
Many of us have been child fighters, but this little kid learned to defend himself in his own way. It's a great sacrifice that way, and so this is another form of strength, another form of endurance. We are capable of much more than we think. These children amaze us.
That first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. I was already trying to change my perspective of life and really just be a father figure that I never had. Being present is the most important part. I'm still growing every day. Becoming a better version of myself. To be the better mirror for my son. I mean, he's just growing. He's becoming his own person. Man, at first I saw him dance, bro, he brings the vibes, you know what I'm saying? He brings the party no matter what. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody. And I love him to the death of me.
Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Nuclear weapons, a major crypto move, and a massive investment in shipping. We take a look at the latest moves under the Trump administration.
President Trump delaying many tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada for one more month after talks with the Mexican president, but Trump says he still plans more tariffs next month.
The Chinese Communist Party is implicated in a scheme to steal American military secrets. 3 U.S. soldiers face charges.
U.S. and Ukrainian officials prepare for another meeting, this time in Saudi Arabia. It comes as Russia intensifies drone attacks on Ukraine's Odessa.
SpaceX's Starship spacecraft explodes after launch for the second time. Another setback in Elon Musk's plan to take humans to Mars.
After Shen performances in Vegas, we hear what a 3-time Emmy-nominated sound engineer and musician had to say about the show.
This is NTD Good Morning, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here are Stephanie Cox and Carrie Dunst.
Congratulations, you made it to Friday. Welcome to NTD.
Yes, today is Friday. It's March 7th, and in today's top news, a major shipping investment, a Bitcoin reserve, and talks with the Hamas terror group. The Trump administration continuing its quick pace yesterday.
NTD's Daniel Monahan will break it all down for us.
President Trump ordered the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve and U.S. digital asset stockpile the day before the White House crypto summit. Crypto czar David Sacks says it won't cost American taxpayers a dime. It will be funded with Bitcoin already owned by the federal government. Sacks says the reserve will serve as a digital Fort Knox.
President Trump announced Thursday that French shipping company CMA-CGM Group will invest $20 billion in the United States to help shore up the nation's shipbuilding infrastructure.
It's so important because it's about shipping. You know, we lost our way for many years. We haven't done anything. We used to build a ship a day, and now we essentially don't build ships.
The president says the big investment will go toward building out shipping, logistics infrastructure, and terminals, which will create an estimated 10,000 new jobs in America. Trump added that he will soon be announcing a massive new program
for building very large, the largest ships in the world.
The plan, he said, will involve tax incentives similar to his tariff policies. Funds from the investment will go toward developing ports in New York, Los Angeles, Houston, Miami, and Dutch Harbor, Alaska. The company will also open a new logistics research and development center in Boston, focused on advanced robotics and automation. President Trump signed an executive order revoking security clearances for employees of Perkins Coie, the law firm tied to the discredited Steele dossier. The White House accused Perkins Coie of weaponizing government and engaging in discriminatory hiring.
You could say weaponization against a political opponent, and it should never be allowed to happen again.
A spokesperson for the law firm said they intended to challenge the executive order and called it unlawful. And Trump announced he is expecting a report from the Secret Service next week regarding attempts on his life last year, and plans to release it if it doesn't jeopardize safety.
When you have 3 apps and 2 of them are foreign, and you had an FBI that wouldn't report on it, they didn't want to say why, I would say that could be suspicious. Take a look what happened.
The president faced unprecedented violence on the campaign trail, being the target of 2 assassination attempts in the span of about 2 months. Trump confirmed on Thursday that the U.S. is having discussions with the Hamas terror group regarding Israeli and American hostages still being held.
We're not giving cash. We're not giving $6 billion like you hear other administrations give. And in fact, I got 59 hostages out, and we gave nothing.
The president also discussed weapons of mass destruction with reporters Thursday.
I was very close to having a program with Russia, denuclearization, and we're going to get China.
With major policy changes at home and tough talks abroad, President Trump's agenda continues to move forward. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
We turn now to the Russia-Ukraine war.
The U.S. and Ukraine say they're ready to try and hash out terms for a ceasefire. Here's the latest.
After a tense meeting at the White House between President Trump and President Zelensky, U.S. and Ukrainian officials are eyeing a high-stakes follow-up meeting in Saudi Arabia. Steve Witkoff, special envoy to the Middle East, told reporters Thursday Trump had received a letter from the Ukrainian president offering to discuss terms for a ceasefire. Witkoff said the letter included an apology and thanked the U.S. for its support of Ukraine. Witkoff said the Trump administration is now in talks to coordinate a meeting with Ukraine. This meeting could come as soon as next week. Trump said Thursday he would likely be in Saudi Arabia himself in the next month and a half. He told reporters his first trip abroad would be to secure a major investment from the Saudis.
So I'm going to be going there, and I have a great relationship with them, and they've been very nice, but they're going to be spending a lot of money to American companies for buying military equipment and a lot of other things.
Trump said the last time he visited Saudi Arabia during his first term, they put up $450 billion. This time, he's asking for a lot more.
They've gotten richer. We've all gotten older. So I said, I'll go if you pay $1 trillion, $1 trillion to American companies, meaning the purchase over a 4-year period of $1 trillion. And they've agreed to do that.
Trump didn't say whether this trip would also involve a meeting with Vladimir Putin. He said earlier he would meet the Russian president in Saudi Arabia over the next month and a half. Meanwhile, Zelensky is also heading to Saudi Arabia to meet Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Monday, ahead of talks with the U.S. In a post on Telegram, Zelensky wrote, "Ukraine is most interested in peace." On Thursday night, Ukraine said Russian forces launched a new wave of mass drone attacks on the port city of Odessa. Officials said the attacks damaged energy facilities and triggered fires. The attack comes one day after Russian strikes on Odessa killed 2 people. Waves of drones have swarmed on the city every night this week. Odessa has been a frequent target of Russian attacks, particularly energy infrastructure and port facilities. Early on Thursday, European leaders agreed to significantly boost defense spending to ensure Europe's security.
Given the threat and whatever happens in Ukraine, we need to increase our defense capabilities, and we need to build, in the next few years, autonomous defense capabilities for Europeans.
The emergency meeting came after the U.S. pulled back its assistance to Ukraine and the continent. The EU leaders also expressed near-unanimous support for Ukraine, with only Hungary abstaining.
Attorney General Pam Bondi calls for swift justice after some American soldiers were charged with betraying their country.
3 Army soldiers, 2 active duty and 1 former, have been arrested for their roles in a bribery and theft scheme involving sensitive military information.
An Army supply sergeant is accused of attempting to transmit classified national defense information to individuals in China. Officials say the soldier conspired to sell classified hard drives marked secret and top secret to China, receiving at least $10,000. He also allegedly attempted to sell a stolen encryption cable computer and sensitive military documents.
Some materials included information on military readiness for a potential conflict with China. Meanwhile, 2 other soldiers face charges for conspiring to steal government property and accepting bribes. FBI Director Kash Patel used the case to warn of China's ongoing efforts to steal U.S. military secrets. President Trump pausing many tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada for a month, but bigger tariffs are still set to hit in a few weeks. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao brings us the latest.
And President Trump on Thursday paused his 25% new tariffs on goods coming in from Mexico and Canada that are covered by USMCA, a free trade agreement that he negotiated during his first term among the 3 North American nations. And Trump signing the new executive action says the 1-month delay is to protect American car makers, but he also warns that across the board, reciprocal tariffs will still kick in on April 2nd.
April 2nd is a little bit different. That will be much more significant, but during this interim period between now and April 2nd, this makes it much more favorable for our American car manufacturers.
Trump on Wednesday just paused auto tariffs on Mexico and Canada at the request of the big 3 automakers. The White House says the delay is to encourage the companies to move their supply chains to the U.S.
Where they will pay no tariff. That's the ultimate goal.
The now expanded pause comes as Trump talked to the Mexican leader.
And they've been working much harder lately. Do you notice that? On people coming in and drugs. And
But Trump, after talking to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, says he's still not happy with Canada's work on fighting fentanyl. Meanwhile, as stocks slide amid the new tariffs this week, Trump says he's not looking at the markets at all when making changes.
Countries and companies that have been ripping us aren't particularly happy with what I'm doing, but the United States will be very happy.
While more goods are now exempt at least for a month, some goods are not covered by USMCA. More than 60% of goods coming in from Canada and more than 50% of goods coming in from Mexico are still facing Trump's new tariffs. Reporting by Iris Tao, NTD News.
In an interview with Fox Business that aired this morning, Trump said that the tariffs could go higher as time goes by. He gave no other details. The 30-day pause on the tariff hikes on America's two largest trading partners, Canada and Mexico, has begun. Joining us to discuss how American workers and small businesses view Trump's actions is Mark Mix, president of the National Right to Work Committee. Mark, thanks for joining us this morning. How do you view Trump's actions yesterday in pausing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico?
Yeah, good morning, Carrie. There's lots of news, and this is a big part of the news day. So, yeah, I think, President Trump is trying to find a way to balance the trade between these countries that have taken advantage of the United States for a lot of years. And I think this tariff idea and using it as a diplomatic tool and use it as an economic tool is something that's kind of refreshing in the sense that a president looks at it this way. And obviously, the give and take of this is something that he's managing and his team is managing. And they're doing a good job. But I think it has a real impact on the country for sure. And the idea that he's going to continue to look at this to be able to balance the opportunities the American workers have, not only in the global marketplace, but in the United States marketplace as well, is a pretty important issue going forward.
Yeah, it seems like there's two things at play here. There's retaliation for what you might call bad behavior in terms of the border and fentanyl. And then there's leveling the playing field, both for the American worker and having reciprocity with tariffs. Trump did not change course when he doubled tariffs from 10 to 20% on China. How does this impact Main Street and workers?
Well, I think this has a big impact. I mean, when you look at China, you don't think of the kind of diplomacy of the Mexico border and the Canadian border when it comes to tariffs and the objectives of the Trump administration. When it comes to the economy, though, China is a big player, and certainly they've been stealing intellectual property from Americans for a long time. They've had an unfair kind of attitude about how we're going to produce things that are going to be imported to the United States. And there's no question that this has hurt the United States economy and the manufacturing base and the employees that make their livelihoods in that business. So I think it's important that he maintain this pressure on China and step it up. I think he's going to do that from everything we're hearing.
Yeah, you're mentioning manufacturing. Tuesday, the United Auto Workers Union gave its endorsement on Trump's announced tariffs, saying it's necessary to end the free trade disaster. While Trump did pause those tariffs on Canada and Mexico, do you agree that increased tariffs are a plus for U.S. workers, and how so?
Well, it's kind of interesting. The United Auto Workers Union leadership endorsed this trade policy. The United Auto Workers Union members have already endorsed Donald Trump by giving him their vote in the last election, despite the fact that the hierarchy of that union was all in for Kamala Harris and called Donald Trump, a con man and some other things. But when he looks at problems that affect the workers of America, not just the union workers and those with a union card in their wallet, but workers all across the manufacturing base of the United States, he's looking out for their best interests. So, basically he talked to the three big automotive manufacturers, and in some ways this kind of protects some inefficiencies and lack of productivity that may exist in those unionized manufacturing plants, because a lot of the automobile manufacturing, the original equipment manufacturers, and the actual assemblers in the United States now are non-union and doing quite well. But absolutely, he needs to look at how China impacts on this and how it impacts the American worker, and particularly those that are laboring without a union card in their wallet, let alone what the UAW has to say about it.
Right. And now outside of our North American neighbors and China, Trump's stance on the rest of the world is reciprocal tariffs, meaning countries who obstruct our products and services are going to have, reciprocity. They have until April 2nd to drop their tariffs or face that increased tariff. Trump's the first president to take this approach. What benefits and risks could this bring?
Well, I guess we'll see. You're right. He's one of the first presidents to take a look at it. We look at the Clinton administration that imposed NAFTA that union officials said hollowed out the American economy. You had Obama that didn't do really anything about it. You had George Bush that didn't do really anything about it except to expand the globalization of the world marketplace. And President Trump is the first one to look at it from a perspective of, hey, we're Americans, let's look at the impact of this kind of globalization idea or these major trade policies. And while I'm a believer in free trade, I believe that if someone's got their thumb on the scale and the government's subsidizing manufacturing so they can undercut the American economy, I think that's a problem that the president's still looking at. I think it's a problem all Americans ought to be paying attention to. And the fact that the president's doing that is good news for not only the American economy, but for the American worker.
And as President Trump pulls these levers outside of tariffs in terms of his economic policies to bring down costs and improve employment opportunities, how does this impact the middle class?
Well, hopefully it'll have a great impact on the middle class. You know, the idea that we reduce regulations, we reduce taxes, we increase opportunities for companies to come to the United States and invest here and build here. I think you're seeing it with some of the, the technology things that the president has announced recently with the investments coming from overseas back into the United States. I mean, he's trying everything to make America great again, for sure, his campaign slogan. And that means building the base of industrial activity and manufacturing activity in the United States. And that starts with helping all Americans, not only at whatever level they're at, it helps all Americans when we do better here in the United States. And I think the president is interested. He's testing things. He's sending things out, getting responses. And that's the way he's always done business, I think, is testing these things, putting them out there. He's moved back when he thinks he has to. But ultimately, he's in to help the American economy and help the American worker. I think that's a good thing for everyone.
When you think about governors, they're always trying to fight to get corporations and entice them into their states. President Trump announced the $1 trillion from Saudi Arabia. There's the investment from SoftBank. And then there's the companies like Apple and Oracle who are going to invest money that's already sitting in the U.S. How do you view his effort to just attract capital investment into the U.S.? Is that his role, or should a president not really be involved so specifically in the free markets?
Well, I think the President of the United States is a salesman for the United States of America. And that sales product not only affects those folks here domestically, but also affects those people that want to participate in the American economy. You know, what we do know about manufacturing and job growth in the United States is that the 26 states that have right to work laws that outlaw forced unionism and the forced payment of dues have 5 times the manufacturing growth in those states that don't. So governors who want to sell products to companies looking to expand or relocate, they ought to have individual worker freedom as one of their primary selling points, and that's working for states that have right to work to protect individual rights and liberties in the workplace.
We appreciate you joining us this morning, sharing your views. Mark Mix, President, National Right to Work Committee. We'll see you soon.
Carrie, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Now, the latest from Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency.
DOGE says it terminated the leases of 30 Food and Drug Administration sites across the country.
In this week's announcement, DOGE said the properties totaled nearly 250,000 square feet. It said terminating these leases would lead to nearly $30 million in savings.
DOGE also canceled property leases at numbers of other government departments, including the State Department and the Social Security Administration.
Meanwhile, the CIA will lay off an unreleased number of junior officers as part of DOGE's cost-cutting sweep. A spokesperson said yesterday new hires with behavioral issues or who have been deemed a poor fit will be fired.
And DOGE said yesterday on X it had canceled a $56,000 contract to water approximately 8 plants at the Veteran Affairs Department. DOGE said it would water these plants for free instead.
Coming up, the FBI has added a new suspect to its 10 most wanted list, along with a $10 million reward for information leading to his arrest. We'll have more for you on that after the break.
If joint pain from aging is slowing you down, Omega XL can help you get back in the saddle, just like it did for John Walsh.
Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. Got to be really fit to ride these horses. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL, and look what it's done. I feel better than I've felt in the last 30 years.
I'm Reve Walsh. I'm John Walsh's wife. I ride fox hunters, and sometimes I'm in the saddle for 3-5 hours at a time. A lot of work out here.
I wouldn't have been able to do this. Muck a stall, throw hay, do all the things that needs to be done on a ranch a couple years ago. But Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great.
Once you try it, you don't want to be without it. Makes a huge difference.
It does. Take it every single day, and you know, there's a benefit. It's made you a lot nicer to me.
If you've been living with pain, it's time to get this special offer, the Omega XL, the joint health supplement that millions have trusted for more than 20 years. Omega XL, it's sourced from the green-lipped mussel, exclusively found in the pristine waters of New Zealand, some of the cleanest waters on Earth. Omega XL, it's natural, drug-free, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research that show it really works. Try Omega XL today. Pick up your phone and call the number at the bottom of your screen right now for a special offer. Buy one, get two free. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3, a value of more than $100. But call today and you pay only $39.95. That's a savings of more than 60%. Plus, it's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee.
Try it. You got nothing to lose.
Call or go online right now to get this special offer. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3 for only $39.95. Call now.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. How did I get here? I can see now.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back. A SpaceX Starship spacecraft exploded in space yesterday, minutes after lifting off from Texas.
The FAA temporarily halted air traffic in parts of Florida because of falling space debris. A key objective of the flight was to capture the Super Heavy booster with the chopsticks on the launch tower, which was successfully achieved.
This is the second failure for Elon Musk's Mars rocket program in just over a month.
400-foot rocket system is central to Musk's plans to send humans to Mars.
Starship was aiming to make nearly a full orbit around Earth and re-enter over the Indian Ocean for a splashdown.
This morning, an unusual discovery at a train station in Paris. An unexploded bomb dating back to World War II had disrupted the morning traffic to and from Paris's bustling Gare du Nord train station. The disruption is affecting local metro lines, commuter rails, national, and even international trains, including the Eurostar. Departure boards at London's St. Pancras International Train Station showed multiple trains heading to Paris canceled, leaving dozens of passengers stranded.
How do you discover suddenly, after all these years, on the tracks even, with all the trains I went through, so it seems strange to me, the whole thing, but hey, until we know further, it's nothing you can do but wait.
The FBI has added former Canadian Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding to its 10 most wanted list, offering a $10 million reward for information leading to his arrest. Wedding is accused of running a massive international drug trafficking network and orchestrating multiple murders linked to the ring. Authorities say he distributed cocaine across U.S. cities and in Canada. They say he used long-haul semi-trucks to move an estimated 60 tons of cocaine annually between Colombia, Mexico, Southern California, and Canada.
The FBI calls Wedding a very dangerous man, citing the alleged murders of his competitors. Prosecutors say his group also killed 2 people in Canada in a mistaken identity case. Wedding, also known by aliases Public Enemy and James Conrad King, was charged with murder and drug crimes just last June.
A win in court for the Trump administration.
A federal judge yesterday gave the go-ahead to fire USAID contractors.
The judge said the contractors had not proved the firings would lead to irreparable harm.
Characterizing the issue as a contract dispute, the judge said the court lacked jurisdiction on the matter.
Meanwhile, California is leading several states in suing the Trump administration over cuts in around $600 million worth of teacher grants. They allege the Department of Education violated the Administrative Procedure Act.
And the former head of the Office of Special Counsel ended his legal battle against the Trump administration. Hampton Dillinger earlier argued his firing was unlawful, but after a federal appeals court ruled his termination was legal, Dillinger said he would abide by the decision. In his words, that's what Americans do.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats will not support a short-term government funding bill, putting pressure on House Republicans to pass it alone. Lawmakers face a March 14 deadline to avoid a government shutdown. Speaker Mike Johnson has called for a continuing resolution to fund the government through September. But with Democrats opposed, he'll need full Republican support. Senator John Hoeven says a shutdown remains uncertain, with the first test being whether House Republicans can pass the funding bill alone. President Trump has also backed a temporary funding bill, urging lawmakers to get it done.
Now, NTD's Profiles of Service. What kind of country do you want to help build for the next generation? We asked Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman James Comer, about what motivates him and his humble beginnings.
How did your upbringing shape your values that led you into public service?
Yeah, I grew up in a rural community, a very small town, Tompkinsville, population 2,500, where everyone knew everyone. My great-great-great-grandfather was the first settler into Monroe County. My family and my wife's family were two of the main families, so we're as Monroe County as it gets. Of course, growing up with a family that had a farm, I loved agriculture, loved being outside, so I think that that upbringing kind of made me who I am, a conservative that cares about sense of community and local decision making and all of that. I'll be honest, I wanted to do it from the time I was a kid. I was a little kid that read the newspaper. I would watch CNN. Both my mom's family and my dad's family were active in the local Republican Party. So when I graduated from college, I got active in the community when I started my own businesses. When I was 27, I ran for state representative and was elected in the Kentucky General Assembly. So it's something I've always wanted to do. My people in Kentucky work hard and they pay taxes and they don't want to see their tax dollars wasted. I was a leader in getting the school nutrition, school lunch program expanded to where, the counties I represent a lot are in Appalachia. Even during COVID, we were making school lunches for people. So we've worked with a lot of our local and existing businesses in Kentucky to help them overcome what I would call unintended consequences of tariffs or tax policy or rules and regulations. Well, it's worth preserving that we have a democracy, that the people have the final say in who their leaders are. We just need more transparency in our government, because right now I fear the threat to democracy is the fact that so many people in my home state of Kentucky have lost confidence in the government. That's when you could have a real insurrection. So we don't want to see things like that. We have to have a government. It needs to be small, but there is a role for government. And at the very least, the government needs to be run by the democratically elected leaders, just to try to do the right thing and be transparent. I believe, when I lead an investigation on the Oversight Committee, we try to have a lot of press conferences. I believe it's important to stand up and answer questions. The media should play a role in our democracy. Obviously, the legislative branch is a check on the executive branch, but the media is supposed to be a check and balance too. I hope that when people look at me, whether they agree or disagree with my ideology, or that they know, well, he's transparent and he's willing to sit down and answer questions from anyone. I think that's important. Huge role. I've got a very supportive wife. I have 3 children, one in middle school, one in high school, and one in college. My brother lives on our farm in Monroe County. Stay in constant communication with him. When I got elected state representative, I was single and I didn't have any kids. And I can tell you, when I had kids, my perspective on life changed. And I think about the school lunch program and things to help needy children and things like that. Probably wasn't top of my list. When you have children, you look at life differently. I think that the family's played a huge role in my development. I guess I picked some battles when I was younger I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have fought some battles that I didn't, but I think it was a pretty big journey to get to where I am today, which I think is chairman of the most high-profile committee in Congress. You know, at the end of the day, I wouldn't change a whole lot probably. If you look at where I came from, that little bitty town, little bitty farm community in the foothills of Appalachia. I've been in the studio of just about every major network in America, being chairman of a high-profile committee, had dinner with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. That's a pretty long journey. It's tough, you know, but you gotta get started. You gotta take that first step, and you gotta kind of know where you're going.
And what kind of country do you want to help build for the next generation?
Well, we've got to get spending under control. $37 trillion in debt. The members of Congress that have been here for decades, they should kind of feel a sense of shame that they're leaving this country in the financial shape that it's in. As we craft a budget, $1 trillion is going to go to interest on the debt. A lot of that debt we owe China and adversarial nations. I'm trying to get spending under control, and it's a battle. You know, the media and the Democrats are acting like, you know, it's the end of the world. And I mean, we've got to have a government that is fiscally responsible. I feel better today than I did 2 months ago about that work getting done, but you know, we're just scraping the surface right now.
And up ahead, it is Employee Appreciation Day today.
Fantastic. Hopefully we'll get some appreciation.
Right.
We've got you covered for ways to show you know all the hard work your employees or colleagues are doing, so stay with us for that.
Shen Yun Creations, the streaming platform from Shen Yun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
First time that I went to see him, a lot of stuff came into my mind because I wasn't prepared at all. I know the first 3 months of his life were really important, and I wanted to be there all the time for him. First time he was like, "Daddy, Daddy." That was one of his first words. He grew up so quick. He just surprised me every day. He's really smart. I really think he can be an astronaut, president. But I'm gonna support him for wherever he wants to be. Whether he wanna be a photographer, musician, whatever. As a father, I guess you don't focus on you. I put himself first. That's what a dad does.
Looking to refresh the style in your home? Here at Mathis Home, we can help you find exactly what you need during our spring style event. Whether you're looking for rustic farmhouse, classic, or modern and eclectic, we have all the latest looks that will leave your home feeling brand new. Whatever your style, we know that we can help you find it at the lowest price. Because not only do we want you to feel good in your home, we know that to earn your business, our prices have to be the best. So come to the spring style event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Welcome back.
If you're just joining us now, here are some of today's top headlines.
President Trump yesterday announcing $20 billion of investment from a French shipping giant to rebuild U.S. shipbuilding and infrastructure. He also signed an order creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Meanwhile, Trump confirmed talks with Hamas terrorists on hostages and addressed possible future denuclearization talks with Russia and China.
U.S. and Ukrainian officials could meet again soon, this time in Saudi Arabia, as both sides push for peace talks. Meanwhile, Trump plans a high-stake visit to secure a $1 trillion investment deal with the Saudis, while Zelensky meets with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. This comes as Russia intensifies drone attacks on Ukraine's Odessa.
President Trump paused the 25% tariffs on goods covered by the USMCA coming in from Mexico and Canada. He said the delay is to protect American car makers and to encourage companies to move their supply chains to the U.S. Trump also spoke with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau yesterday, saying he's still not happy with Canada's fight against fentanyl. More than 60% of goods coming in from Canada and 50% from Mexico, not covered by the USMCA, are still facing Trump's new tariffs.
Another SpaceX Starship spacecraft explodes after launch. The FAA briefly shut airspace over parts of Florida due to falling debris from the explosion. It's a second straight setback for Elon Musk's mission to send humans to Mars by the turn of the decade.
It is Employee Appreciation Day, and according to the research, recognition is not just great for employees, it's also great for the businesses that they work for. Organizations that prioritize employee recognition see higher performance levels, reduced turnover, and enhanced employee loyalty. To discuss ways to show your people that you care, we're joined by Aaron Mittelstadt, CEO of The Fruit Guys. Welcome, Aaron. Good to have you with us for such a happy day. What are some of the latest trends in showing appreciation at work?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. There's so many different options, and it really depends on the company's culture, their budget, and employee preferences. The companies want to pick something that fits with who they are. But we've seen some great things, everything from something simple like a personalized note or gift to an event. We've seen some really interesting speakers come in, people doing lunch and learns or having panels to really engage employees in something different or exciting. Extra PTO can go a long way. Our business is going to shut down for half a day to make sure everybody has time off together. So there's a lot of different options. I think giving something that's authentic and sincere is important. And then not just doing it today, but spreading that out over the course of the year.
Well, it really sounds like there's a lot of room for personalization and also fitting it within the company's budget. Now, just to hone in on the importance of this, according to OGO, 82% of employed Americans say they don't feel recognized enough at work. Now, your business works to foster workplace culture and worker well-being. What are the elements of thoughtful, genuine recognition, and how often is enough?
I think it's that authenticity and sincerity that's most important. So I think having some regular programs. So we have a company meeting, for example, and in that company meeting every other week, we recognize employees. But having it really encouraging and supporting managers to give feedback on a daily basis or really appreciate how people are contributing on a regular basis. So I think that people who feel cared for are going to produce better work, are going to be happier. As you said, they're going to stay at the business longer. So really having both formal recognition programs and informal, but really training and reminding managers to have these conversations or coworkers to share these thoughts and appreciations with each other, I think is a really important moment in businesses to celebrate employees.
Yeah, it sounds like it's almost like a mindset, creating that culture. It's an ongoing thing. Now, 66% of employees say that they would actually leave their job if they didn't feel appreciated. And according to Gallup, U.S. businesses are losing roughly $1 trillion annually due to voluntary turnover. What do you think is going on here?
I think that COVID was really difficult for a lot of people, and I think we're still coming out of that, where people are trying to figure out how to work. Is it hybrid? Is it remote? How are we connecting? And so I think we're still coming out a bit of that malaise, and I think that carries into work. You know, if you are feeling like you're having a hard time at home or just emotionally, it's hard to bring your best self to the office. So I think businesses that can really celebrate the whole person, be caring about the whole person. I mean, just asking how somebody is doing can make somebody feel valued, and listening to what's going on in their life is important. You know, and I think also companies have to be aware of cultures that might not support health and wellness. So if you don't encourage people to take time off, if you don't, if you're calling people after hours all the time, even if you celebrate Employee Appreciation Day, it's not going to make up for all of those other daily things where employees may not feel valued.
It's the full picture, isn't it? And just knowing that you're seen for who you are as a human with many different sides to yourself, not just at the workplace. But with so many people working from home, as you mentioned, and on the tail end of COVID, of course, we're out of that, but there was that quiet quitting movement and various other hardships of just being separated and working at a distance. Why is it important to take the time to say thank you in some tangible way?
I think for all the reasons we've mentioned. I mean, there's the data with Gallup that really shows that employees who feel cared about will work harder, will stay longer. If a business is, if you're not even thinking about it on a human level, if it's just businesses who want to not have that turnover, it's a really quick and easy investment in trying to keep people there. But at a human level, I think the more we can all show care and understanding of each other, we all win. And the benefit process, you know, the business profits, but also we have better relationships with our staff and with our coworkers.
And what are some of your favorite ways to show employees that you care? I believe you also previously worked at Trader Joe's. And they also, I've just got to say personally, I think they have something good going on there, because people always seem very happy when you go there. So what are your tips?
Yeah, and that's a great example of sort of it's not about one thing or one moment, it's about a long-standing culture of how you interact with employees. And so at Fruit Guys, you know, we have a lot of employees who have worked with us for a long time. And I think that's because we're flexible, we're human, we understand that things come up and life happens and you might need to take some time off or take care of, you know, family matters. But we also ask people to do the best work that they can. We listen to employees. I think hearing employees and really being responsive to their feedback is important. So I think it's all about the everyday micro moments that are almost more important than the big celebrations. Although people appreciate the big celebrations too. It never hurts to say thank you and we appreciate you. But it's also about how you're listening to employees and giving them space to give you feedback and make adjustments if something's not working.
Well, we appreciate you for giving us this time to really put our minds to this and hopefully improve workplace culture everywhere, incrementally. Thank you so much, Erin Mittelstadt, CEO of the Fruit Guys.
Thank you for having me.
The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics released February's jobs report just now. 151,000 jobs were added last month, with the unemployment rate increasing to 4.1%.
Federal government lost 10,000 jobs, which could be a reflection from the cuts made by the DOGE and the hiring freeze that took effect in January. This is the first full month reported under Trump's second term. And coming up, after a Shen performance in Vegas, we hear what a 3-time Emmy-nominated sound engineer and musician had to say about the show.
And from tragedy to hope, how one woman turned her grief into Sean's dream, a growing organization tackling mental health and addiction. You won't want to miss that after the break.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you. Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health, my own mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I've never been more devastated than the day I lost my mom. I was depressed, miserable, in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. The chaos that was in me began to subside. I was more focused, clear. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. That's not up for debate. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, here we are looking at Shen, what a 3-time Emmy-nominated sound engineer calls after watching its performance in Las Vegas.
NTD, a proud media sponsor of the New York-based performing arts group. Take a look at what this audience member had to say. Deeply moved them to tears in some instances.
It was breathtaking. I had tears in my eyes almost the whole time. Changed my life. It was inspirational. I love to hear the story of the divinity of humanity portrayed in dance form.
You can't beat live music, and these guys really knew what they were doing. You can tell that they played that song before, you know. I mean, it was very professional, and it adds excitement to the show. The way they play those instruments and the way the music sounded, it really enhanced the show. All the musicians were top-notch. I mean, top-notch, you know. I doubt you could get much better.
To see a bunch of people like that on stage at one time in synchronicity, you know, you think about the amount of hours that they put into what they do and practicing together to make it one fluid movement, and to hear the orchestra. I love the strings. It's just so beautiful.
Through classical Chinese dance, music, and storytelling, theatergoers are taken on a journey through 5,000 years of classical Chinese culture and values, which were believed to be inspired by the divine. Shen has 8 companies touring the globe simultaneously, bringing in an all-new production every season.
It's very clever the way they put the live person in there, and then the next thing you know, you're watching them up on the screen, or they're up on the screen and they come down and, you know, they jump out on the stage and all of a sudden there they are on the stage. But the show is great. just the spectacle, the colors, the costumes, the dancing, it kept you entertained the entire time. When they came out and did that last performance, I'm going, it's over already? And then I looked at my watch and saw I'd been here 3 hours. I couldn't believe it, So it was great. Excellent show.
I could watch it every day. It was beautiful. It was. I'm a better person now, having that whole experience of being a part of my soul. Now I'm very happy.
Excellent job. Keep doing what you're doing. You're bringing happiness and joy to a whole lot of people on this tour.
NTD News, Las Vegas, Nevada.
So nice to hear from the artist community and to get their feedback on the show. When somebody, works in sound engineering and production, they know how hard it is to make it so seamless. It's like when you don't notice things, that's the sign of something just working smoothly. And you really seem to be touched by that.
That's true, and not just the professional display of skills, but the way that they spoke about it touching their hearts, really lifting you up. And as artists, they would know what it takes to get there.
That's what art's all about, right? To really give you an experience and sort of lift your spirits. And, we've been talking about this show touring all over the world. It's coming to our area now. So It starts here at Stamford, Connecticut. I'm a Connecticut guy, and it'll be in New York City as well as in New Brunswick, New Jersey. So we've been talking about it. It's been all over the world, and now it's our turn. And I'm very excited that it's coming to the New York area. So, And moving on now. A tragic loss, inspiring an organization to combat mental health and addiction issues.
NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with Sean's Dream founder Lisa Dembeck. Check it out.
The death of Sean Dembeck in 2020 due to substance abuse sparked a movement to help others facing mental health or substance abuse challenges. His sister Lisa Dembeck founded Sean's Dream, turning her grief into a mission to address these pressing social issues.
I was searching for something, for an outlet, to help me. And they say that grief is love with nowhere to go. So I kind of just decided to share that love that I would have given him with everybody else.
According to its website, Sean's Dream works to inspire and nurture the human spirit while building a community that addresses critical issues such as mental health and addiction. Dembeck stresses the importance of breaking the stigma around seeking help.
Sometimes it's invisible and we can't see it. So it's important to kind of end the stigma around asking for help. And when someone comes to us and asks for help, no matter what the situation is, we do the best we can to help them.
She says addiction and mental health struggles don't discriminate and are impacting younger people more than ever.
It's not something that is discriminatory on who it affects. It doesn't matter what status you are, what job you have, who your family, anybody can be affected by mental health or substance use. And that's the thing that I've noticed the most.
One of their youngest cases involved an 8-year-old child.
It's not something that people see every day unless it's in your face and you're involved with it. But it's everywhere. It really is.
Sean's Dream has grown into a thriving community, fostering collaboration between those affected by mental health and addiction issues and local schools through fundraisers and events.
We say that we all have the same destination of success with different beautiful paths to get there. And when we started saying that, I didn't realize how important that would become. We are not just talk, we're doing things through action, and it leaves more of a lasting imprint on our younger generations.
One highlight was the Shop with a Cop event, where Sean's Dream partnered with the Monroe Police Department and Walmart. They arranged limousine transportation for children to attend the event, making the day unforgettable.
They picked up the kids, 8 of them, and they brought them to the event in the limousine. In the limousine, they were kind enough to have Santa Claus. So Santa Claus, the kids didn't even know what was happening. Santa Claus picked them up. They got in the car, they went all the way from Newburgh down to Monroe with Santa Claus, and then Santa Claus got out and spent about 2.5 hours shopping and spending time with about 50 kids at this event and police officers.
Looking ahead, Sean's Dream is expanding in 2025 with renovations underway for a new home base called Sean's Closet. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Wow, Lisa Dembeck at Sean's Dream really doing important and heartfelt work. Really inspiring.
Yeah, and so universal. You know, everybody can experience that sense of loss, and she's really done something with it. But that sentiment that, you know, grief is love with nowhere to go, I just think that's so touching. And it's so true, you know, but she's done something with that, which is what's so inspiring.
Yeah, that's a really profound statement, isn't it? Grief, you know, love with nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I'm really inspired by that work, and you can certainly check out Sean's Dream online and see if there's any way that you can help out, or just help out in your local community. You know, mental health and addiction is that thing that people don't want to talk about it, the stigma, and then, you know, to see this work, I think it really lets people know, like, hey, you know, it's not a broken arm, it's not cancer. You can't see it, but it's there, and it needs to be addressed. So, all right, we're gonna end it here, but thank you so much for joining us, and please stay tuned at 10 o'clock Eastern for NTD News Today.
And for round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Stephanie Cox.
Carrie Dunst, have a great weekend.
Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretane Black Ginseng, crafted from premium 6-year